The selection you're about to read is an excerpt of the important Mayan work, the Popol Vuh. The Maya were Native American people who lived in what is now southern Mexico and Guatemala. Hi, and welcome back. On today's literature segment, we're going to analyze this important pre-Hispanic literature work, the Popol Vuh. The Popol Vuh. Objectives: analyze the Mayan culture because it's a background for the story you're going to read. Introduction to the Popol Vuh. Background: the Mayas developed an advanced civilization that flourished from AD 250 to 900. Their cities were magnificent with grand temples. Around 900, for reasons not completely understood, they abandoned the cities and migrated into the surrounding countryside. Spanish invaders entered their territory in the early 1500s, and by the middle of the century, most of the Maya had been conquered by Spaniards. Spanish invaders entered their territory, and by the middle of the century, most of the Maya had been conquered by the Spaniards. The Maya excelled in painting and sculpture and developed advanced forms of mathematics and astronomy. Using a paper prepared from fig tree bark, they even made books. Other Mayan inventions include an accurate yearly calendar based on precise astronomical measurements and a complex system of hieroglyphic writing. Like the ancient Egyptians, the Maya used their written language to decorate as well as communicate. In addition to their yearly calendar, the Maya created a sacred calendar of 260 days. Each day was associated with a particular god or goddess. Mayan priests used the calendar as a way of harmonizing their activities with the divine forces. In the Popol Vuh, when the gods speak of keeping days, they are referring to the use of the sacred calendar. Myth and survival. Like Gilgamesh, Popol Vuh combines real human history and supernatural myth to give people a sense of their place in the universe, their divine origins, and their earthly role. When the Spanish conquered the Mayas, they began a systematic attempt to completely dismantle Mayan civilization. Hundreds of Mayan books were burned, but the Mayans preserved their culture underground, and one of the ways they did this was by writing out Mayan books in the Roman alphabet. This way, even if the Mayans eventually forgot their own script because the Spanish outlawed it, they could read Mayan books in the new official alphabetical imposed by the Spanish. The Popol Vuh is the most important of these saved books. It is at once a work of myth and a work of history. It tells the story of how the sea and the sky joined together before the beginning of time to create land, plants, and living creatures on the earth, and stars, planets, and suns in the sky. That is the mythic and fictional aspect of the book. The history or non-fiction aspect is that Popol Vuh tells the story of the ancestral Mayan lords who passed down their titles and responsibilities from generation to generation, given their name as envoys. Popol Vuh means council book and have been used for centuries by Mayan leaders to give them instructions when making important decisions. So, the remarkable Popol Vuh records events from the beginning of time to the present day of its writers, switching from myth to history and tying the two together. We're able to be guided by the Popol Vuh today thanks to the efforts of many translators and one thief. In 1701, the Spanish priest named Francisco Jimenez living and working in Quiché territory, copied Popol Vuh with the phonetic Mayan in one column and a Spanish translation in another, creating the first version that Europeans could read. Jimenez's version was acquired by the University of San Carlos in Guatemala City in 1830. In 1857, an Austrian physician, Karl Schreger, came upon the manuscript, which he published in Europe, and later a French priest called Charles Brasseur stole the manuscript and took it to Paris. After his death in 1874, a large collection of books, including Popol Vuh, was sold to American Edward Eyre, who donated them all to the Newberry Library in Chicago in 1911. Popol Vuh was then completely forgotten until 1941 when Adrian Rosinas rediscovered it and published it. Now it is claimed around the world. The Popol Vuh is considered essentially reading for anyone who wants to learn about and understand the religion, ancient culture, and history of the Maya peoples. The Maya peoples live in South America from Mexico to Honduras. Creation stories are always interesting to read because they help us to understand how people made sense of the world and their place in it in a time before all the scientific knowledge that we know now take for granted. We can, for example, see recreation stories today in the Bible, Quran, and these stories will help us to better understand those of Christians and Muslim faiths respectively. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, bye!